Welcome to another episode of Systematic Geekology. This is a space where we seek to create and cultivate healthy conversations between those things we geek out on and the philosophical and theological questions that often arise out of our fandoms. Like, what does it mean to be human? What makes a hero? What makes a villain? How do the stories and narratives we geek out on shape how we live in the world? We are your priest to the geeks. We aren't all ordained, but we see ourselves as mediators at the intersection of geek culture and going deeper in our faith. We don't always have to agree, but we do respect each other, and we see everyone as a beloved child of God. Everyone geeks out on something, so come geek out with us and enjoy the show.
You're listening to an Anazao Ministries podcast.
After participating in a long and trying tournament, are you also worried about your internship? On top of that, do you have to study for your final exams? And are you also trying to stop a villain who licks the blood of his victims because 1, ew, and 2, he's killing all your colleagues? If you answered yes to these questions, you are probably in the midst of the My Hero Academia hero killer and the final exam arc, or for the anime people like me and my co-host Pang, it's just the latter half of season 2 of My Hero Academia. This is Systematic Geekology. We are the priests of the geeks, and I'm here, like I said, as I hinted at, with Elizabeth, Clyde, Pang. Pang, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty well. I can't complain. We've been already hanging out before this episode, so I'm excited to do this episode with you.
Yeah, it's true. Pang and I were on for probably about 20, 25 minutes just catching up because we haven't done an episode together in a long time. So it was good. And also, you're welcome, listeners, because the chemistry here is going to be dynamic. So before we dive in to My Hero Academia Season 2, we're gonna wet our whistles a bit with what we've been nerding out on. So what have you been nerded out on lately? Bang.
All right, I have a new romance one for you guys. It's called it's a lengthy one. It's Our Dating Story: The Experienced You and the Inexperienced Me. Pretty much, it's like a nerd who asks out a super experienced person, and they start dating and whatnot. But he finds out all the hype and whatnot from her. She says yes to everyone because she wants to find love. And so then people think she's easy and will just try and date her, but find out she's not who they thought they were and dump her and then try and find, what they were looking for, like a cheap ride. And so she is learning, she's found someone who actually treasures her. And it's so beautiful.
Now, is this a show or a book?
Yeah, it's a show on Crunchyroll. But we're only 5 episodes in, and it was one of the ones, we were talking a little bit, it's so hard to find something that captivates you. And so I was watching this and I was like, wow, I enjoy this. And of course, I got to wait for the new episode. And there's only going to be 12, and then I'll be sad.
Dang, so you're itching for it.
I think so. I love it's so sickening cute, And then it makes me just feel like a little anime schoolgirl giggling.
Man, those shows that make you feel like you're a middle school child going through your middle school crushes. Yeah, those are special.
Right. And it makes me so grateful because I remember in middle school and early high school thinking, am I going to find love? I hope so. And then just knowing how I'm a full grown adult, happily married and after 10 years. So I'm like, you did it. You did it, middle school me. Good job.
Look at us here, married. Look at us. With great people, living
real
out
people, 3D people,
not 2D people like Sailor Moon, which was my first crush.
Or Inuyasha, love him. But yeah, so I was like, man, just a little feel good anime, and then it's so sickening cute.
I love that. And then what's it called again?
It's like the Inexperienced Me, something. But the Inexperienced Me's Our Dating Story. Sorry. It's just Our Dating Story. I was reading the title of the episode. But
Our dating story.
Episode 5 is the inexperienced me spends the night with the experienced you.
Ooh.
Steamy.
For all of our romance lovers out there and weebs, there you go. You got two birds with one stone.
So what have you been geeking out on, Nick?
So I had told the host that I was reading a Tolkien biography, but on top of that, it's another Tolkien related thing, but it's different. I had a older Tolkien scholar that I was hanging out with on the internet, and they were like, hey, have you heard of this collection of academic essays on Tolkien that came out in the 60s from the Modern Language Association? And I was like, no, I haven't. And they were like, yeah, you should get it because no one ever reads it and quotes it in their scholarship. And I looked it up and I found a copy for $1.85, picked that bad boy up. And now I have been reading almost 50-year-old essays on Tolkien scholarship and has been super, super nerdy and enjoyable. It's called The Shadows of the Imagination. So it's basically a bunch of old literary guys, because back in the day, people were like, Tolkien's trash. Fantasy and science fiction isn't real art. And then these guys were like, yeah, it is. And so it's cool and fun. So anyone wanting to get into a Tolkien scholarship, Shadows of the Imagination, there you go.
Sounds educational. I like it.
Yeah, it's super, super educational. That's what we've been nerding out on. And now we're going to dive in to season 2 of My Hero Academia. So let's get our main impressions of this arc, Pang. What was your reaction to your first encounter with the arc? And what about it makes it worth talking about and revisiting?
So this is the one when they do their internships, right? When they go and they do their work studies. So that was really fun, just kind of watching them gain real life experience and kind of getting a taste of the real hero world. So that's probably my favorite part about this whole arc season, whatever it's called, because you get to see, I think you get to see their personalities, but also Bakugo with Best Genius, like his work study, like most hilarious thing ever.
Where they basically just try to make him an upstanding citizen and try to make him
pretty much make him like comb his hair, like act right, like, because the Best Genius I would describe as the ultimate like preppy boy, if you will, and that is not Bakugo. So don't know how he, chose his internship with that, but yeah, I was like, all right, this is hilarious. I like it.
Gosh, yeah, I honestly forgot about the Best Genius part. Best Genius, what a character, dude. I mean, that guy throughout the whole series there's a reason why he's the number 3 hero. And I love that every time when he tries to help people, he always poses or takes like a selfie or whatever. Cracks me up.
Mm-hmm.
I really, I think when I first discovered My Hero Academia, I think this was the season that like did it for me. Like I really enjoyed the first season, and of course you see like All Might fight like the big Nomu or whatever in the like practice arena, and it's really cool. But I think that seeing the students of class 1A, like you said, kind of gain that first world or the real world experience, and then actually kind of losing their childhood innocence. Like before, it's all like, oh, we're kids and we're going to be heroes. This is going to be so fun. And there's a little, there's a little bit of some of that innocence breaking with the Nomu, but All Might comes and saves the day. And the kids don't really do a ton. They do stuff, but not a ton. But in this one, they really experience like a lot of loss, and like nobody comes to save them in time, so they have to fight for themselves. And the fight against Stain with Ida and Todoroki and Midoriya is just really cool. And then the final exams when they actually fight the teachers is a really cool moment to see them some of them actually win and learn. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked how you was talking about with like kind of losing some innocence, because up until that point, besides like the trash monster, and that was Deku and Bakugo, they haven't really experienced villains at all. So
right.
what they've known of superheroes was almost what we would know today as movies. Like we just have the idea of saving the world and how it would feel and admiring these people. And so for them to like experience that, like putting into action what you've learned from a textbook, you know, with their like training and whatnot is eye-opening. I kind of remember, I mean, just to apply what you've learned in anything is so hard. Like whenever I was in ministry school, you can read how to preach all day long, but then when you get up in front of that crowd and your mind goes blank, or like, my legs, even to this day, my leg will shake a little bit, even though I don't feel nervous. It's just one of those, like, one of my like mechanics. And I'm like, okay, let's do this. Hope I don't mess up.
No, that's real. And somebody who also went to school for ministry for a bit, like nobody teaches you how to do pastoral care, right? It's that one thing where it's preaching is tough, like you said, and doing all that. But then when a family's like, oh, hey, I was a youth pastor for a bit, and someone's like, oh, hey, this kid is like being really bad at school, and we want you to come and try to speak into his life. And I'm like, I'm a 23-year-old kid myself, and I did not go to school to learn how to comfort a family with a bad teenager.
Well, even then, like we've had it before. I mean, it's awful, but we've had people in our youth group commit suicide before, and they don't teach you that in ministry school. And like to have that hands-on experience is crazy. And like, you just hope you never have to experience this again, something so tragic. And with a situation like this, they are experiencing something so tragic. I mean, look at Ida. He didn't lose his brother, but he still has to almost mourn his brother's hero career, who was his hero, not only, in a sense of like actual heroic work, but hero as the older brother. So Ida has to experience that loss, and you see how he kind of chooses vengeance, and all he wants to do is, get revenge on hero killer Stain, putting himself in danger as well as his classmates.
Man, so good. Yeah, Stain is like the perfect villain for this transition point, just because Stain, and I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves because we'll talk about him later and more in depth. But like you said, all the things that you thought you knew about heroes, like you said, is the commercialization and the cool movies and stuff. And then Stain's like, oh, these heroes are actually bad, and everything you knew about heroes is wrong. And he's not totally incorrect, which is pretty interesting. So this arc is jam-packed with character arcs and arc filled with arcs, if you will. But before, again, we go through the arc, we had the preamble, and now this is the introduction for us. What's your favorite character art at this point in the in My Hero Academia for this for this arc?
So always is going to be Todoroki. Always. Yeah. I can't remember who he work studied with at this time.
He does. He goes with his dad.
Did he go with his dad? Because I knew in future he does his dad, so I couldn't remember if he did his dad again. Okay, so I gotta say though, because Bakugo was so funny, so funny. Like him with and then especially near the end when they go back to school and his hair like kept on like wouldn't go back to being messy, and it just stayed in the type of the best genius. So funny. And then like you find out a little bit later, whenever Bakugo like wants to talk about his like hero name, like he promised to run it by Best Genius. So of course, like there was some kind of impact in relationship for him that we don't really know about. But I just always thought it was like super, super sweet that Bakugo was like, I'll tell my hero name when it's ready. So he obviously respects him. And so you don't think Bakugo respecting authority, but that just shows really great character development on Bakugo.
Yeah, and even with the final exam, when Deku and him get for their final exam, they have to work together to fight All Might, and Bakugo actually compromises and starts working as a team with Deku. And I think that comes from Best Genius teaching him how to be a gentleman. Obviously, Bakugo isn't going to be the Best Genius preppy boy gentleman, but yeah, I think those qualities, like you said, there's a respect there that maybe is unspoken or not as explicit,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I love Todoroki. We relate to our daddy issues, but Bakugo is a close second.
So is there what specifically about Todoroki do you love about his development?
So I just feel like our stories are very similar, like especially with him overcoming like an overbearing father and having to be perfect and whatnot, and kind of having like a crazy mom. Like I feel like we just literally lived the same life. And then him I can't remember him too much with this arc, so that's why I'm saying Bakugo wins like just this like time.
Yeah,
But just him keeping it cool too. You know what I mean? Like he's had all this trauma happen, but he's still kind of caring and he's still like kind of a humble dude. So
yeah, it's true. And this is one where he actually we get to see him use his fire part of his quirk, and he kind of like the tournament happened, and Deku faces him and is like, "It's not your dad's quirk, it's your quirk." And Todoroki's like shocked and doesn't know what to do. He's like pissed and happy at the same time. But then Todoroki uses his fire quirk in the field, and you can see that there's some growth there. Like you said, that humility and kind of like letting go of the overbearingness of his dad. Yeah, super cool. Mine's it's stereotypical. I think my first one is Midoriya, but then I really like Ochaka's as well. She gets an honorable mention because she does it with what's his name? Who does like
the muscle guy.
Yeah. And she like learns how to fight and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Ochaka is not like that. And it's cool to see her bringing those combat moves because she's like a rescue hero primarily, which is cool. But I just love, Deku learns from Gran Torino how to control his powers, and, just classic Midoriya being, the classic Shonen Jump protagonist where he powers up and he saves the day, and he's, kind of the perfect poster child, especially when he works with Ida to save him from Stain. That's like my favorite throughout the whole arc. He does cool stuff when he punches All Might in the face in their final exam, but I really like how he saves Ida, and then they forgive Ida later, and they like Ida's like, "Oh, you don't, I'm like the worst, blah blah blah," and then Midoriya's like, "Dude, we all mess up sometimes. We have dark moments. It's whatever, dude. It's the best." So there you go, people. That's our little fanboy section here. Okay, so now we're going to jump actually into the season. So after our young heroes from UA finish their tournament, they apply for their superhero internships, where they'll be able to get some field experience under the supervision of a professional hero. So our boy Deku gets connected with Gran Torino, who was the former mentor of All Might. And along with being a powerful and goofy old man, he is wise and helps Deku master his one-for-all quirk. Gran Torino advises Deku to allow his power to manifest throughout his whole body instead of focusing it all on one point of his body, which proves successful. Surprise, surprise. So what do you think about this piece of advice from Gran Torino, as far as like instead of just focusing all the energy in that one point into kind of just maybe more balance throughout the whole body, how it affects Deku's life from here on out, and how it may even apply to our own lives?
Yeah, so I think so often we get so tunnel vision on what we're doing, where we are just focused on what's in front of us. This can even go with like relationships, neglection. Like I'm so focused on my work right now and I'm so focused on this. So then the relationships around me suffer because I'm only focused on this one area in my life. So I feel that is kind of similar in a way, whereas Deku kept on breaking his arm because he would always focus one for all in his arms, and not like kind of like he uses that egg reference, trying to like warm up the whole egg and not just letting it explode. But yeah, you can apply that to almost anything really. Like just don't focus on one thing, look at the whole picture. You can even apply it in ministry. If you only care about youth ministry and you don't care about the church as a whole, then the church as a whole is going to suffer if you only care about the teenagers, because worship matters, kids matter, the elder groups matter.
Yeah. No, and what you made me think of was kind of the Paul's the body of Christ kind of analogy, where the eye isn't going to say to the ear, "I don't need you." Similarly to Deku, where it's like he needs his fingers, he needs his arm, like and what's her face, the healer, recovery girl. She's like, "You need to stop doing this." And so when he learns how to use his whole body, to a very literal sense, kind of connects with that whole body of Christ thing that you were kind of expressing through talking about the different ministries in church. So I think that's a really awesome way to look about it. to look at it and apply it to our own lives in that way. And going back to Deku, I think that if he didn't have this advice, I mean, it's literally like the next episode where him and Gran Torino go on the train, and then there's Nomu's, and he encounters Stain. So at that point, Ida would probably be dead. And so would that, I can't remember his name, the native superhero, but they'd be dead. And Deku would probably have another broken arm or something. So this really kind of just lays the foundation for their encounter with Stain, their growth, that sort of thing. And I guess that's just what kind of internships do, is they kind of, it's trial by fire type of a deal. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in the context of the internship, the hero killer Stain is on the loose and has failed to be stopped. One student of particular interest from Class 1A who has taken up the interest is Tenya Ida, who Pang kind of referred to earlier, trying to get revenge. So Ida's brother, who's a professional hero named Ingenium, was attacked by Stain. And he wasn't killed, but Stain rendered Ingenium unable to engage in hero work for the rest of his life because of the injuries he inflicted on him. And Ida, very uncharacteristically, takes an internship in the city where Stain is active so that he can get revenge. This decision is not just crucial for the development of Ida as a person, but Deku as well, kind of what I was hinting at. Additionally, it significantly influences the way in which citizens in Japan view professional heroes in the series.
Hi, my name is TJ. I'm here to tell you about the Systematic Geekology shop. That's where we post all of our merch. It is hosted on Creator Spring, and we have a ton of really cool merch, mostly clothing. We have hats, extra soft t-shirts, sweaters, hoodies, and more. Our hosts wear them all the time. It's actually super comfy. We have glassware, mugs, which everybody loves a good mug. Fill out your cupboard. Get rid of some old ones, which is the part that I never do. That's why I have too many cups. We have cloth bags, posters, and it's really stuff. We like to put our icons on there. We like to put quotes, things we've come up with. And it's cool. It's a cool way. And a lot of it is pretty subtle too, to show support for one of your favorite shows. And my personal favorite is actually our SG dad cap, which I haven't been reluctant to buy it because now I have to wear hats at work and then I get tired of wearing hats. But it's really cool. It's really understated. It is our logo right here. And then it says Systematic Geekology on the back. It's great. It's a really good hat. We have a few of them floating around. Check it out. And if we could all just rock the SG dad cap in public, I think that'd be pretty sweet.
What do you think would happen if Ida did not seek out Stain? Would the heroes in society be in a better or worse state? Explain to us, Pang.
Well, I mean, that's hard because at the end of the day, they did capture him.
Yeah.
Like, right? Yeah, because even though the No Moon thing happened and so whatnot, like they did move forward with the capture, and Stain actually acknowledged someone as being a hero other than All Might. So I feel this is very much needed, especially because like this is kind of where Stain's message has gone out now to kind of like get other people to know like heroes are not that great, because if they were true heroes, they would not want the fame and the recognition, and they are only doing this for surface level praise. And so my metaphor is some churches, are they doing it for the fame and the recognition? Because you have, like, I just heard of another pastor at a big church. I'm not going to say anything, but he just had but like I heard of another pastor having a moral failure. And so he had to resign from this church, very big church, very successful. Like I followed them for a very long time and very impressed with them. But it's just one of those things, like what happens, you know what I mean? Like, and I feel, not saying all churches are bad, but I feel some churches, they get so far away from the heart of the church, kind of like maybe some heroes are getting so far away from the heart of being a hero. And so they go for butts and seats, and they go for the fame and the, recognition of the world more than saving souls of lost people. So it's an interesting metaphor.
No, I love that. I absolutely love that. There's the mic drop from Pang, bringing the heat as always. And if I was listening, I think that'd be worth it to stick it in. And you obviously need to come back and hear other My Hero Academia episodes, because we're going to have some good stuff like that too. But I was kind of thinking the same thing, and more on on the pastoral level, where I think people go into ministry very excited, very green, because they're, like you said, they have that passion at the beginning of like, oh, I want to do ministry. I want to participate in evangelism. I want to serve my local church and help people, and you have God use me in the ways that he wants to. But then once you start getting involved, you start recognizing that being a pastor really does bring privilege and power to a certain extent. And if you're not careful, that privilege and power can taint the ministry that you're doing. It doesn't mean it takes away all the good it's doing, right? I think everyone would say that. No one's saying that with the heroes, if they're saving people and stopping them, that's bad. But doing it for the wrong reasons definitely cheapens it and lessens the good that's being done in the world. And I think that's why you see a lot of people leaving churches right now with some of the statistics, just because there are so many churches and pastors, and I would say regular normal lay people as well, who just don't embody their faith as a selfless hero, but kind of use it as an avenue to take power and privilege to kind of do what they want and gain higher access in society. So that's kind of my bit there.
It's crazy. It could be a slippery slope for sure. Even like an example with my husband, he has been burning the candle at both ends lately, and he hasn't been feeling a lot satisfied with his job. Like his job is not refueling him, it's not giving him energy. And so we always feel like whenever you work with your sweet spot, like, hopefully your job is more fulfilling than draining, right? And so he's just been really in the draining end for, I would even say, like over a year now. And so like I was like, hey, are you good? He's like, I don't even know what my faith is at the, like, I know he still believes in like God and whatnot, like loves Jesus, but like he even gets to the point when you get so busy working for the ministry and for the church, you forget, number one, like your self relationship, with Jesus, because we are the church. We don't work for the church. You know what I mean? And so even then you have to be mindful and have people around you to call you up. And so even with the students in class A, that's kind of like their accountability partner. Like you see Ida being held accountable by Deku, like kind of like, hey, you kind of strayed off a little bit, but we're good now. You're back on track. Like, let's go be heroes.
Yeah, I love that. And I was thinking too about like what would happen if they didn't encounter Stain, or if Ida didn't seek revenge. And I think that they would not have learned the lesson on what actually it means to be a real hero. And I don't think Class 1A would have received the benefits from that as quickly as they have throughout the story. So maybe Stain would get captured somehow and there would have been some development. But, I think Stain really, in a wrong way, demonstrated what is wrong with like the hero parts. And I think that similar, like it connects to my own story if we're connecting it to that, because I did ministry for a bit and I went to school for it and I was like, felt very called and I was very disenchanted. And I didn't really know what to do. I was like, is this the right thing? Am I a Christian? Like what's happening? And, it ended up being a place where I learned things about the church and what I can do. And then it led me into, like a transformation of my calling into working with kids on an educational level. So I was a youth pastor and was called to work with youth. And, I think God kind of nudged me in the direction of education as opposed to professional ministry. And so I don't think I would have been as keen on that if I had not gone through kind of like the disenchantment of working like behind the scenes as a pastor and being like, being a pastor or a Christian isn't what it's all cut out to be. But then not leaving the faith altogether, but finding new ways to embody that in a way that we talked about that's more healthy and more authentic to the way that Christ calls us to be. Yeah.
That's a good point. So good.
Look at us. We're deep, dude. We're freaking
We're
deep.
so deep. You thought you were going to get just a My Hero overview, guys, but we're going deep into, not, I wouldn't call it theology, but like just like, I guess the heart of ministry would be more.
Yeah. I think heart of
appropriate.
ministry, is the spiritual journey,
Mhm.
Yeah. This is why pop culture is good, because it can help deepen your faith. You're welcome.
It really can. But here's the thing. I always say you can find Jesus anywhere.
Ooh. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Even in what's his face? The little grape juice guy.
Yeah, no, he just needs to get saved.
Yeah. He is still needing to be worked on.
He needs to be slapped with an encounter with the Lord.
Yeah, right now he's still on the highway to hell.
Yeah. Minetta, you need to get your life together. We want to see you in heaven, okay?
Yeah. Maybe. Minetta, going to hell jokes. You're welcome. Systematic
welcome.
Geekology listeners.
You and your stick of balls, Minettas.
Okay, so we've talked a little about Stain, but we've kind of focused on the heroes because we care about them. But Stain is the main villain in this arc. Okay, but we do see the League of Villains make an appearance very briefly. They're kind of in the background. They release Nomus out into the public because Stain refuses to join the League of Villains, and they kind of throw a temper tantrum because Stain's like, I have a higher calling than y'all. Y'all are trash. But this leads Deku to Ida and the other professional heroes to Stain, causing them to learn more about the Nomus, the League of Villains, and Stain himself. Not a ton of physical damage is done, I would say, to some of the heroes, but both Stain and the League of Villains strike an impactful blow through the spread of their ideals. Do you think that there's any truth to Stain or the League of Villains' feelings towards heroes? And why do you think their reach becomes so viral in the show and maybe even connected to our little ministry thing?
I think they have valid points because we'll learn a little bit about like their backstories and whatnot. But at one point or another, a lot of them were let down by a hero and they don't embody what they truly believe a hero is. And so in this scenario, I know I'm not trying to like always relate it back to the church. It's just, I just see such a perfect metaphor. I think of how people have church hurt and they completely do a 180 and they don't want anything to do with the church and they become atheists because how can a good God let any of these things happen? And so I feel like this is what happened with the League of Villains. They hurt people, and they were outcast and they wanted to find a family and they wanted to find a home. And you and I have found that in a church family. And not everyone is as fortunate sometimes. And so they found acceptance in the League of Villain. And so I always tell people I get so sad when I hear about church hurt, because for me, when I was a confused middle school little girl, the church was the first thing I found. My experience with church was love and acceptance. I finally felt like I had a place I belonged and a place I can escape my, trauma childhood pretty much, And so that was my experience with the church. But if I would have found a home with a group of people who did drugs, my story would be completely different than today. And it's all about which group you align with. And so these people, they got hurt by heroes or they got hurt by people who worshiped heroes and they did a 180, just like you see people doing when they get hurt by the church.
Man. Ah, so good. And, it kind of reminds me of the reason why it went viral is just because psychologically, like creating tribalism just works. If you can create an us versus them mentality, it helps build your cause. And a lot of people who have experienced that hurt from heroes, right? As Stain did, when other League of Villains, but even us in the church, right? A lot of people, kind of the same thing, kind of similar. I experienced, sex abuse as a kid, and my family fell into the arms of the church with pastors and church family that really cared for us and, incorporated us into the fold of that life. And so growing up, I always had a safe space. Everyone cared for me. People loved on me. And all the other stuff was just kind of that I wrestled with being in church was more on like just kind of growing up questions that everyone has, like when you start thinking about like the big picture and why is there suffering and things like that. But I always felt comfortable, even when I wasn't feeling like I wanted to be a part of the faith, that I could explore that in a church community, because I had only been in church communities that allowed for me to experience hard things and then work with me through those hard things with love. And some people, unfortunately, just like with heroes, in the show, did not have that experience where the thing that was supposed to keep them safe or love on them was the very thing that hurt them. And so it causes people to react very negatively to the church. And it makes sense, but I think that's also why some of the more anti-tribalistic critiques of the church become so popular on the internet. Yeah. So yeah, love and acceptance in a, I'm not saying that is a disregard, but I think that embracing people in their brokenness and letting them know that you're broken and you don't have to put on the facade of being perfect to be with people. So yes. Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you haven't already, find a community, guys. A positive, influential community. Not influential, but a positive community that has influence on you. Don't go find a bunch of drugs. When I even say it's the church, you can join a sewing club or an art club.
Yeah.
It's a positive. You need people. That's my disclaimer.
Ooh. Yeah, you need people. I love that. Love it. Thankfully, though, the villains are stopped. The internships end and students return to UA to complete their schooling. The students of Class 1A learn that for their final exams, they have to face one of the hero teachers from UA. And we see just how far each student has come. These final exams are really the fulfilled promises that have been given to us throughout Season 2 at the beginning. The payoff at the end of this arc is well worth the wait, kind of like Pang's metaphor earlier that you heard.
Yes.
So which final exam was your favorite and why, Pang?
That's hard. I'm going to say Bakugo's. Because like what we talked about earlier, he's so dynamic. Like he's grown so much since episode 1, and I'm proud of him.
Yeah, I agree. I'm the same way. I love that too. Him and Deku work together. Bakugo really shows his that best genius really had an influence on him being a team player. And I just love to see Deku and Bakugo kind of give All Might a run for his money, but only because All Might is losing his power. And it's just cool. I think it's the coolest final exam. I think the second coolest one might be Todoroki's, and because they face Eraserhead. Oh, who's the hero that makes the stuff from her body?
She just goes by Mo or Momo, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
What she's called, the lipid girl. I forgot her hero name.
Yeah, I can't remember her hero name, but Todoroki and Momo. I think that is a really cool one where they work together against Eraserhead, and you really get to see trust in Momo and see her strategize, because she's kind of like the second person to Midoriya as far as strategy and stuff, and it's cool. And Eraserhead's a big softie and lets them win, and I love Eraserhead.
He's really good. I almost got an Eraserhead tattoo, but I just didn't want his tired eyes forever on my body.
Just the freaking streaks of...
Right. Instead, I went with Kakashi. One day Eraserhead might, because I'm a teacher, so I was like, that would be so cute.
That would be cute.
I got the sensei on my arm.
The sensei on the arm. I do have. We were talking. Pang and I were talking about anime crushes earlier, and throwing Pang on in the light here that she said Gohan, Teenage Gohan, Super Saiyan 2 era Gohan was one of her crushes.
Specifically, Daddy Gohan.
Oh, Daddy Gohan.
Father.
Because when he had Goten. Goten was his first son.
No,
I think?
he had the daughter.
Oh, Pan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but I want a Super Saiyan 2 Gohan tattoo so bad. But
do it.
Yeah, I want it on my calf. Maybe it'll happen.
I just say just do it, because if you think about it too long, you won't do it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So there you go, listeners. That's my promise. At some point, you'll hear me, and I will maybe submit pictures of my Gohan Super Saiyan 2 Gohan tattoo. So before we go, Pang, is there anything else that you want to talk about?
No, I think we've covered it all and then some.
Yeah. I mean, not only about the season, but I think we covered a lot of church area. I think you and I could probably reform the church just through our exploration of My Hero Academia.
I fear for the future of the church if we are solely involved, but maybe.
You know what? There's John Wesley and John Calvin. It's Pang. It's Elizabeth Pang Clyde and Nicholas Polk, the two
there
branches.
You go. We're right up there. Our name will go down in history of probably doing something very bad, trying to do something good.
Yeah, hopefully not drowning people for not believing in God or something like that.
No, I would never do that.
Yeah, unless
maybe
it's
an eye roll. Yeah. I might give you an eye roll.
Oh, eye roll. Maybe drown Mineta. Mm-hmm. We'll drown Mineta.
No, he can float on those dang balls.
Maybe we'll burn him instead. Burn him at the stake.
Maybe.
Yeah,
we'll see. But the balls are fireproof.
Dang.
I just feel like why do they come in so handy?
They literally do everything.
They do. He can bounce off of them. He can trap people. He can float. It's so crazy. But gosh, man, what a great character. Like, we hate to love him. We love to hate him.
It's true. The elusive Mineta. You can't put him in a box.
Yeah, but you need that character because like you need someone for everyone to gang up on.
It's
and
true.
That's Mineta.
It's true. Okay, so we're going to transition to our recommendations. Give us some recommendations, Pang.
I'm gonna say after the 3 episodes, I was telling you about this before. So Food Wars, I'm prepping to do an episode on that soon. So it might already be out by the time you guys hear this, listeners. But first 3 episodes are a lot of fan service, just a lot. Like, I do not endorse I felt a little dirty watching it. So I know people are going to run to this anime. But it's just so fun as like, if you enjoy cooking whatsoever, it's so technically sound in their cooking techniques. It's a lot of fun. So if you enjoy cooking and watching the underdog win, kind of like Deku, go to Food Wars.
Go to Food Wars, y'all. And tell us what you think, because we want maybe the first 3 episodes. Maybe you can give us your live reaction.
Dude, it's so fan serviced. So like I was like, I don't know if I can continue watching because I watched it back in the day. You know what I mean? And like I'm slightly more mature now than I was back in the day, just slightly. But I was like, wow. This is not how I remembered it.
That sounds like a lure to me. Like when you said that, it lured me in, people, because I tried to watch it back in the day and wasn't into it. But then Pang was like, "Oh yeah, there's tentacles," and I was like, "I'm in. I'm going. I'm watching it." My recommendation for y'all is if it's getting around the holiday season, it's not quite Christmas yet. We still got time, but I'm not a big Christmas music person, but I'm a big South Park fan. And if you like South Park and you like their humor, you should check out Mr. Hankey's Christmas Classics. It's the South Park Christmas album, and it is delightfully offensive and hilarious.
Delightfully offensive. Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, there's lots of blasphemy and lots of South Park versions of Christmas hymns. So it's very fun if you're into that sort of thing. If you're okay with being zapped by God a little bit for being blasphemous. So before we jump into heresy and all that sort of things, I'm going to encourage you to come back and see us at our next episode. Go to our YouTube channel at Systematic Geekology. We got a bunch of stuff there. Go to our Patreon. Go to our Captivate. If you like this and you want bonus content, you subscribe there. Give us a little money. You get bonus content like the bonus question for this episode that Pang and I are going to record that you are currently missing, free listeners. So give us your money so you can get good stuff. We've got other episodes with other hosts like Christian and Josh and James and Will. If you were disappointed in hearing me and Pang once more, I don't know, why you would. But if you're one of those few, you can go and subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Overcast, Podbean, wherever you get your podcasts, and you can listen to them. But we're also on episodes, and you can find us too if for the majority of you who absolutely adore us. So yeah, and next time you want to hear Pang and I's hot takes on how we would murder Mineta, we'll be here. We'll probably be doing the next season or the arc of My Hero Academia. So until then, thanks for hanging out with us. And just remember, we are all the chosen people, a geekdom of priests.
Hey guys, Christian here. Have you ever wondered why you should become a patron? Well, let me help you out. Because if you become a patron, what you can do is have live access to our YouTube exclusives like Comic Book Ketchup, Drinks with Teachers, Manga Mustard, and a companion series that go along with our annual theme. You can be there live, commenting with us. We really want you there. You also get access to exclusive merch. We have t-shirts, mugs, handbags, long sleeve shirts, all over the place for you, for your help in helping us. Also, we have extra bonus questions for you to look at. We have 4 to 8 times a month doing that. We have exclusive Discord channels for you, discounts at our store, access to any future D&D campaigns, and you can easily access all the patron content through our Spotify page at the top where it says exclusive content for subscribers. Also, one of the new things we're adding is voting privileges for future episode topics. We're going to be doing specific things for you, voted by the patrons, and you also get that extra satisfaction of just helping us out, and we appreciate all you do.
If you love our show, you can follow the whole network in a single feed on Spotify at Anazao Ministry Podcast or the network page on Apple Podcasts. There you'll find shows like The Homely, The Whole Church Podcast, My Seminary Life, Let Nothing Move You, Dummy for Theology, The Bible After Hours, as well as mine and my husband's show, The Clydes, where my husband Taylor and I go through weekly discussions in a devotional conversational method to help us all get closer to one another and God.